Good evening and welcome to the regularly scheduled meeting of the Ulysses Town Board. It is January 23rd, 2024, and I'll call this meeting to order at 7:03 p.m. May we please have a roll call?
Yes. Ms. Weatherby.
Present.
Mr. Goldman.
Present.
Ms. Olson.
Present.
Ms. Bouchard.
Present.
Mr. Boggs.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have an agenda. It was posted first on Friday, and then one item was added yesterday and reposted. And I also have a couple additions that we're going to entertain them. They would be under new business. An appointment to the BZA for one of the temporary or one of the alternate positions. And then item F, I received, so the item should be contact from Thomas County Board of Elections regarding polling places for future elections. That's just nothing. Request for comments from you, not potentially. So are there any other items anyone on the board needs added or altered? Then I'll put the motion to approve as amended.
Motion to approve as amended.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye. This brings us to privilege of the floor. We have it at the top and the bottom of the agenda. If you are here, you can address the town board on any matter you might be interested in, but if you're here for the public hearing is coming up next. So is there anybody who wishes to address the board on something other than the public hearing? We're not yet in the public hearing, so if you are here for the public hearing, we would love to have you in the public hearing. I'm getting a message that the Zoom quality, the sound quality is not great on Zoom.
I'm not sure what to do about that.
Michelle, would you mind coming out mute and helping us?
It just sort of sounds like you're underwater. I don't know if it's just me, but
Hang it.
Do we feel like we're underwater here? It's not that way. So maybe, is that any better? Michelle?
You know what? Microphone's not plugged in. Sorry, my fault. User error.
Okay.
Michelle, does that sound any better?
loads better. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for letting me know. Getting back to privilege of the floor. You're welcome to 3 minutes to address us. If you are here for the public hearing, you can wait and talk public hearing and you have your 3 minutes there too. Is there anybody in person who wishes to address us on another matter? Yes, please go ahead. Okay. Is there anybody who wishes to address us in person first?
On a public hearing issue?
No, we're not yet in public hearing. This is just privilege of the floor. Like you might want to talk to us about the weather. If you want to talk to us about the weather, this is a great time to talk to us about the weather. Can't do much about the weather, but we can talk about it, or we can hear from you. Is there anybody online who wishes to address us on something other than the public hearing? Okay. Anybody back in the room again? Thought about the weather. Okay. So we will move on from public comment and our privilege of the floor and go on to our public hearing. Before we open, I'd like to remind the public that everyone is welcome to have up to 3 minutes. I will have a timer going that will go off. Please conclude when your time concludes. I typically go back and forth between the room in person and online to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to be heard. If you are online, please be ready to come off of mute. If you familiarize yourself, if you aren't already, with the raise hand feature and the mute button, and you can come off. You don't have to be on video, but we do ask that you let us know where you, if you're a town of Ulysses resident or not, would be great. If you live in the village, you also live in the town of Ulysses. So
Maybe we should pull over podium.
Sure.
People can be near the microphone.
Would you mind grabbing that one, please? Okay, so is there a motion to open the public hearing to hear from recommendations from the public on the town's use of remaining American Recovery Plan Fund Act funds?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Is there anybody in person who wishes to address the board? Okay, please.
Thank you. I'm eager because I got a meeting I gotta attend here shortly. So,
Well, we're glad you could fit us in.
I'll make my comments short. I fully appreciate the fact that this board is feeling kind of gun shy or snake bitten by what happened in December. And I think I want to say that this town needs to have more focus on recreation areas for young people. And if that wasn't the place because maybe it was a little far away or whatever, I'm hoping that you will keep your minds open for whatever might come along here shortly. And I would suggest if you do find something that you have your resolution subject to being withdrawn if there's a permissive referendum. So in other words, you're not going to be frozen into this thing that, you know, got so difficult last time. And I think you can do that. Obviously, that will have some negative effects, but probably will keep people thinking twice before they ask for a permissive referendum. So I think, if you may, I'm sure you're going to be looking at other things to spend the money on, and I think I would do the same thing with that. You know, whatever you do, because you need to move quickly, and permissive referendum takes a lot of time. And if everything fails, you know, the Freedom Caucus will be divided because there'll be more money in the federal hands. So anyway, those are my comments. Hope I haven't run over my time.
You have it. There was no bell. So you did a great job. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, is there anybody online who wishes to address us? Well, I'm not seeing anybody online, but if you decide while you're here, while online, that you wish to address us, I'll be back. Okay, is there anybody in person who wishes to address us? Please go ahead.
Hello, I'm Ezra Delaney. I'm board member of the Trumansburg Conservatory of Fine Arts. I live in Skywood County. I'd like to talk about an exciting project that we've been working on for almost 10 years now to restore the Trumansburg Conservatory of Fine Arts. As most of you know, we're a nonprofit that's founded by Clesta Smith 40 years ago with a mission to serve the community and also to preserve this landmark building in downtown Trumansburg and provide cultural and arts programming to the community. We're funded through donations, grants, and earned income. And our programs allow us to bring the funds into our community from ongoing support through New York State Council on the Arts, Tompkins Tourism Program, private foundations, and many donations and support in-kind services that we've received. We have 2 full-time employees as well as part-time instructors and technicians who work at the conservatory. We worked hard to offer programs, exhibits, classes that attract the widest audience. We've been very lucky that even during COVID, we remained open and had classes throughout that period. Our attendance and participation in our programs now exceed our pre-COVID attendance. And in 2023, we had 10,000 people attend events, classes, and exhibitions and workshops. So I'm gonna talk about just quickly about why to restore the conservatory. Other board members in the public will speak about more about the project and also on how we serve the community. Why restore the TCFA? The building requires restoration so we can expand our programs to all members of the community. What the building has served our area as a vibrant center of the arts for over 40 years. It's in need of overall renewals, code compliance work, and ADA accessibility. We can't partner with other arts organizations, schools, and social services without these improvements. So without having an ADA bathroom, without having access into the building that's safe and compliant. It's
That's not me.
Okay.
No, go right ahead.
The condition of our building puts our organization at risk and prevents us from serving those with physical disabilities. The other people will speak more about the project, and we'd love to have an opportunity to present to the board more details about it. We are really excited the support we've received from the community, both in donations and in-kind services, and we're really looking forward to renewing that building and making it a center for the whole town.
Very well. 16 seconds left. John. Okay, is there anybody online who wishes to address the town board? A lot of lookers, not participators in that way. That's okay. It's fine. All are welcome. Is there anybody in person who wishes to address us? Let's go ahead.
My name is Jane Hexter, and I'm a resident of the town of Ulysses for 30 years. I haven't prepared anything, so yes, I'm British, so whenever I speak here, people tell me to speak up, and whenever I go home, they tell me to be quiet down. I'll try my mid-Atlantic version. So I didn't prepare anything, so I'm just going to say this off the cuff. I've lived here 30 years. I absolutely love going down to the concert in the park in the summer. I've been reaching out to the parks over the last few months to see what we could do to bring the concert series back. We spoke with park manager and Fred Bond of Finger Lakes Parks this afternoon, and they are adamant that they are not going to host the concert as it has been down at the parks, and they want another entity to take it over. I've been a fundraiser. I've raised over $90 million for nonprofits, so I know what a lift it is for a nonprofit to do that in terms of insurance. And I know that the town has a beautiful program that you have for kids through the recreation department. So I thought I would just turn up and ask if the town would be amenable for me to put together a plan with other people that I've been working with, to ask if the town would be interested in taking over the concert series with the help of me and other people. We've already identified 5 bands, including St. Redmond and some other big name bands who said it's their favorite place to play. They're absolutely interested in playing, and the budget is doable. I'm absolutely convinced that we can get sponsorships from local businesses to cover the vast majority of the costs. And over the years, the income that comes in from the bands offsets the costs of the bands. So it's not a big burden going forward. It's just for this year, which is the 45th anniversary of the concert series. It's going to need some help from people in the community. Anyone who's watching, if you want to help, let me know. And but I don't want to let it just go away. And I think especially now, we need things that bring us together, regardless of whether we're for a park or against a park, and for a Republican or Democrat. We need places we can just hang with our kids and grandparents and grandchildren and dance and have a good time. And I think we need that more than ever. And this is what makes Trumansburg so beautiful, is the park, and I was getting to enjoy it. So that was my 3 minutes. I did look up to see if it was a fit, and it did seem to address health and safety of the town residents. I think mental health and community health is important, and I think it's something that's been going for 45 years because people love it, and because people have
That one is your timer.
There you go.
Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
That was my unprepared, so I hope you could hear me, so.
Well, since you didn't submit a letter, if you wouldn't mind putting your email address down, I can follow up with you.
Okay, that'd be great, thank you.
I'm gonna turn the volume. I can't even hear mine. That's better. Do that one. Okay, is there anybody online who wishes to address the town board on the subject of the public hearing? Back to the room it is. Anybody else? Yes, please.
My name is Marlene Darkler and I live in the village. And I also tried to look at the requirements and I think what I'm asking for fits into the requirements for the art funds. Donna and her crew have taken a gem in our community and made it shine. We have a treasure here that we need to support and protect. The conservatory is unique in that it offers programming and entertainment literally for every age group in the community. My grandchildren take dance lessons and music lessons. My daughter-in-law took her first ballet class. And speaking at least for a segment of the elder population, the conservatory has become a hub for us to partake in the arts of every flavor as students, participants, and audience members. Many of us no longer want to or can venture into the big city, especially at night in the winter, to take in the arts. With the Trumansburg Conservatory of Fine Arts, we no longer need to do that. For many in the elder community, TCFA is a major cultural and educational support for us to be aging in place. The artists, the musicians, the shows, the concerts, the classes offered each week provide for a wide range of interests and tastes that appeal to people across the age and interest spectrum. To support TCFA is to support our entire community, young, old, theater goers, dancers, painters, photographers, masters and learners. I would like to go on record of supporting TCFA's proposal for funds to support the building renovation and restoration. The funds, if awarded, would go, I think, I have this right, okay, it would go towards the matching funds needed by the New York State Council of the Arts grant. Much has been done already to update and beautify the building, but improvements for accessibility are essential if this wonderful community resource is to be continued to serve all residents.
That was not your beep. Sorry.
If you have ever watched some of us clinging to the railings as we leave the building, unsure of our footing, you will understand how this is needed. And let's face it, none of us like to go on stage to go to the bathroom. For some of us, that's actually an impossibility. And this is something that could never and should never happen in a public building. In a situation that it's a situation that must be remedied. ARPA funds can help make that a reality. And finally, with increased financial support, the conservatory can continue providing experiences and opportunities for all residents to interact with the arts without finances being a barrier. I support TCFA so it can continue to support all of us.
Thank you very much. Okay, is there anybody online who wishes to address us in the public hearing? Is there anybody in person who wishes to address us? Please come ahead.
I'm George Cook. I'm board president at the conservatory, Trumansburg Conservatory of Fine Arts. So I wanted to I am also a village resident and wanted to talk a little bit about the specifics here. So the American Recovery Plan Act, those funds are leveraged by private, state, and foundation funding. And if the town approves $75K, that would be 12% of the project costs that we've already raised. So we've already raised these funds through the NISCA grant and through donations. ARPA funding would allow the project to proceed this year in FY 2024. And that means we can get started earlier and bring these services to the community. The project won't increase the tax burden on the community, and the design drawings, thanks to the hard work of the board and our director, are complete, and we can bid very quickly. So we're shovel ready. The project meets the goals identified in the town's comprehensive plan, and we've outlined a few: diverse economy, maintaining and expanding recreational facilities, providing recreation for all age groups. Dance is our biggest program at the conservatory. Promoting cultural and historical resources, and enhancing assets that make Ulysses a unique and desirable place to live. So we strongly believe the project will strengthen TCFA and allow us to better serve all our members in our community. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody online who wishes to address the board? In the public hearing? Okay, back through. Please go ahead.
Okay, my name is Mike Ronke and I'm a current resident of the village and I just, this is more of a question to the board than anything is just wanted to clarify so everyone understands the amount of money we're talking about here, since we're talking about various programs for the arts center there, which is good, and some other projects. From what I understand, there was $321,940 some dollars for total funds for this. The town has received from these funds. Now, as I looked on the website tonight, I noticed it's been approximately $125,795. It seemed as though they were appropriated for other things, which is, I'm not against any of those things. I'm just making sure that we understand as some of this other monies, has that money already been appropriated and for those items. Okay, so that's going to leave approximately $196,000 left for other things that we want. So just so everyone understands, we're not talking $350,000 available for this. It's $196,000, which leaves a little bit less money. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody understood that. I know the board does, obviously, but as far as the community is, with the understanding of that, also, one of my things I thought about is good use of funding. It's a Camp Barton project. That's, I guess, it's been that town board has obligated itself to some degree to developing that pipe down there. So from the old Boy Scout camp there. I don't know the specific details as far as how far along that's gone or what's involved with that, but I'm just saying that's another area that some funding could be used for that, possibly. So there we go. It's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much.
Yep.
We appreciate 2 cents. Okay. Sorry, just trying to make sure I get my good notes too. Is there anybody online who wishes to address us? Okay, is there anybody in person who wishes to address us? Yes, ma'am.
First of all, thank you for giving us this opportunity. My name is Donna Roman. I'm the managing director of the Trumansburg Conservatory of Fine Arts. And I'm here just to briefly talk about what this $75,000 that we're asking for would help us achieve. It is a shovel-ready project. It would be going right to the New York State Council of the Arts matching portion grant. And as you all know, the conservatory is a 501c3. It's housed in a historic building that is registered in the National Registry of Historic Places. This is a historic preservation project, and we hired the firm of Holmes King Halquist Architects. It is ready to go. This renovation would include the front doors, the portico, of course, replacing the fiber boards. The original windows would be restored and made operational. Lighting and electrical distribution would be all upgraded, and structural repairs as needed. Perimeter foundation drainage would be installed. And so important to all of us, the existing non-compliant ramp will be removed and replaced, creating an ADA compliant path of travel from the exterior to the stage. That will help us in the performers and the lecturers and the artists that we bring to the conservatory. A new ADA compliant restroom will be built in the lobby, and all the work is designed to comply with the highest historic preservation standards. We are very proud of this project. We have two architects on our board who have worked tirelessly with this firm to ensure that wise choices are made with the limited amount of money and funds that we have. And we thank you all so much for considering our proposal. Thank you.
Is there anyone else online who wishes to address the board? Is there anyone in person who does? Please go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Beesing. My husband, he had the blueberry farm, just outside of town, so I'm sure that many of you have been out there. And we've been members of the Trumansburg community for, as of this year, I think it'll be about 45 years. So, that's a long time. I'm here to speak in, support of the Trumansburg Conservatory and their proposal. I've had the privilege of being on the board of the conservatory for the past 3 years. And this has been a wonderful experience working with members of the community and members of the board to make sure that we can get both operational and capital funding from many different sources, local, county, federal, and state sources. We've had many successful fundraisers recently, including a Peggy Hayne and the Lowdown Alligator Jazz Band reunion and concert. Sold out, full house. We started the Grassroots Unplugged. We hope to have an annual Grassroots Unplugged event. That was also successful, and a winter dance recital, which was a full house this year. And more of these events are being scheduled. The village of Trumansburg has been very generous in supporting this project by rebuilding the sidewalks in front of the building, which I'm sure many of you who have walked around the village know we're in terrible condition. So thanks the village for helping with that, and thank you all for listening and considering this project.
Thank you. Is there anybody online who wishes to address the board? Okay, is there anybody in person? I saw a hand over here, so I want to make sure. Please come ahead.
Hi, my name's Eileen Heptig. I live out in McIntyre Road in Schuyler County. I have been involved with the Trumansburg Conservatory of Fine Arts since 2008. First as a dance mom, then a dancer, and then as a registrar. 7 years ago, I became the treasurer of the board of directors, and I continue to hold that position. In that time, I have witnessed the quality and quantity of our programs grow, not only in numbers, but in depth and diversity. Our annual attendance numbers are now in the 5-digit range, and we have almost 200 students currently enrolled in classes. We collaborate with many local organizations and pull audiences from a wide geographic area, bringing in welcome tourist dollars. Our programming needs have outgrown our building in its current state, especially the need for handicapped access. With this in mind, last year, the board of directors began a first ever major capital campaign to renovate the conservatory. This renovation will enable us to update and expand our performance and lesson space and bring us up to ADA compliance. Our campaign has been met with enthusiastic support from the community, and we are close to reaching our initial goal within the first year. I respectfully ask this board to approve the funding request to the Trumansburg Conservatory. This unique resource enables our community members to be exposed to and educated in so many different art forms right in their own backyard. It is something that should be supported and treasured. And to end on a personal note, I cannot wait to see the outside of this beautiful building finally get a new coat of matching paint.
Thank you. Is there anybody online who wishes to address us? You guys are running out of time online. I gotta tell you, we're gonna be moving through this public hearing. Is there anybody else in person who wishes to address us? No, I'm sorry. I called Dolores first. Sorry. No, Dolores.
You're already up.
Yeah, I didn't make it up.
Well, the way I see it, the town has some hard choices to make as far as how to spend this money and where to move it around. And there certainly are several things around the area that are certainly worthwhile. And so I'm Dolores Higuerita, I live on Bradley Street here in the village. The conservatory, I think it's been a blessing to the town and the village for what it does for our community, what it offers. And I think if we can do that, I think that would be a wonderful thing to do for all the reasons everyone has said. Secondly, Camp Barton could certainly use some help. That is something that will benefit the village, the town, and a lot of other people. And it's someplace, I think, that the town and the village can feel like it's really theirs. I mean, Titanic Park, yeah, it's ours, but I don't know, Camp Barton, it's just been special anyway. I mean, I don't have Boy Scouts but we used to hang there sometimes and, you know, look for rocks and different things. And it's a really special place. And I'm glad that the 3 municipalities are going to be putting that together and really making something out of it. And the third thing was. I just have it. The recreation field that failed, the resolution that failed back in December. If that can be somehow brought back as far as, is there a way that maybe money can be put aside? Can there be a committee? Can there, you know, so anything like that that could maybe help to make that come about? Because that is definitely would be a good thing, because school doesn't have enough playing fields as it is for all the different teams now that are popping up these days. And you know, there's the Pee-wee football, and then there's the middle football, and then it goes on and on for all the sports, but that would be great too. So we have lots of choices to think about, folks. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, is there,
Two hands.
we say, this is exciting. We have a hand. Dory, please, you're welcome to have the floor.
Good evening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. It'll be extemporaneous. I would like to speak in favor of 2 organizations that have been mentioned. The conservatory is an important part of this community, and that is demonstrated by the fact that the capital campaign of the conservatory was received so robustly. I was one of the supporters, and I was very glad to hear so many people speak in favor of the conservatory. I too would encourage the board to make a financial contribution to the conservatory for all the reasons that have been discussed. I also, excuse me, hope that the board could consider financial support of Camp Barton. This past summer, I was a HABS monitor, purple algal bloom monitor, for a section of the lake bordering Camp Barton. And I did this for CSI, Community Science Institute. This was the first experience that I had with Camp Barton. I lived in this area for 2.5 years in Ulysses on Willow Creek. Camp Barton is an extraordinary gem. It would be very wise, I think, for the towns that are involved, excuse me, Ulysses, Trumansburg, and Covert, to work together to do something with that piece of land. There will never be a lake frontage available again to us. So I'm putting in a plug for both the conservatory, financially supporting them, and also financially supporting Camp Barton. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You were cutting in and out a little bit, but I think we got Camp Barton and the conservatory. So I think we heard the vast majority of your message. So I appreciate that. Okay, is there anybody in person who wishes to address the board? And you just go ahead.
Go ahead. About just putting.
Hello, my name is Vivian Rose and I agree that there are tough choices to be made ahead and there are many worthy things to consider to use these funds for. I keep going back to the act, and the act was to support the health and economic recovery of our town. So I would highly suggest that we look at shifting our town policy and operations to a primary purpose of the most important basis of our health, which is our ecosystem. In my view, the most important things to do with this money in order to ensure that we recover from this pandemic and from future emergencies is to support ecosystem health. Second, to provide youth ecosystem education and education about care of the ecosystem through longstanding town nonprofits affected by the pandemic. 3, pay the most disproportionately impacted households $200 a household. And 4, build non-motorized transportation infrastructure. So each of these has multiple, I've provided this as a email to the board and it will be in the public record. Essentially what I'm asking us to think about is if the birds are not healthy, if the water is not healthy, if the pollinators are not healthy, how do we have health? I agree that, so I suggest that we fund one full-time position on the town staff to monitor all of our environmental health indicators at critical points throughout the town of Ulysses, including monitoring the water and etc., and provide guidance to us and resources to us who live in the town so that we can help take care of our resources. Included in that would be funding bioswales, stormwater ponds, open pollinated seeds and plants to landowners who are committed to turning their land into those kind of resources. Provide youth ecosystem education and care. The Computed Nature Center, which has been here for a very long time, is now closed. The comprehensive plan supports that educational process, which is specific to our ecosystem and our species and care of our ecosystem. Provide funds to the Nature Center for education programs for our Ulysses youth. And provide funds to the Trumansburg Fair Association to replace the roof.
Thank you.
Is this my?
This is the 3 minutes. I'm sorry.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody online who wishes to address the town board? Is there anybody else in person who hasn't had an opportunity to speak who'd like to address the town board? Please go ahead.
Thank you for this opportunity. When I spoke at the last board meeting, I spoke to you and thank you for your due diligence in putting forth the program that you wish you had done in supporting recreation in our community. And I hope that you continue to look at that. I appreciate everything the conservatory does in this community and would support that as well. And as well as speaking to the due diligence part, I don't know if you're aware of something I brought to the village's attention about the Tug Hill Commission and municipalities' ability to gift money to other nonprofits, recreation and art. It was commissioned in 2016, and there are rulings there that would apply to anything that anybody has suggested here this evening. the village discovered that and have been working with their attorneys. So I would hope that when you consider these moving forward, any of these recommendations that you have, you would look up the Tug Hill Commission of 2016 that addresses your ability to gift public funds to other organizations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. She must know your name.
Is there anybody online who wishes to address the town board? Is there anybody who hasn't had a chance to speak in person who wishes to address the town board? Oh, I'm sorry, Michael's head was in your, was blocking your hand. I apologize. I wasn't actively trying to prevent your participation. Please come on up. I'm sorry about that.
Thanks, Roxanne Marino, lived in the town of Ulysses for 38 years. I think there's been some really interesting things said tonight with regard to the community services that the town could put some funds into. And I think that they're very much worth the town board considering. I wanted to speak just a little bit to the timeline of these funds needing to be spent, which is, my understanding is pretty quick. It has to be encumbered. You really have a solid plan for it, as I understand it, by the end of this year, and then spent out within 2 years. So some of these things can be done right away. Some of them, some of the environmental things, for example, which I fully support, and I work on a lot of committees on this town on environmental things. So I'm all for it. Can't necessarily happen and be well spent on a short time frame. But the town also has some identified strong near-term capital needs that it's also considering using some of the funds for, including some that were in this chart. And I would just want to encourage the board to think about if they use some of those funds now because you have a targeted need and you know what it is, then still you would have to raise those funds anyway in the coming year or two budgets to do it, because you have to do it. So to take that money and put it into reserves or funds that could then be used to continue building some of these other things that aren't shovel ready yet, that could really benefit working more on the recreation things, a plan and a longer term thing. So I think that this money does give us a chance in a circuitous way to also invest later in other things if the town makes a commitment to say, okay, I had to raise that money anyway, so I'm gonna do it. And I certainly think that the town has been very conscientious in its budgeting, and there's clearly a good buffer in the budget, and I think that it could be done. So I support doing some of the short-term things that I think that could fill in. It's a lot of money to spend in a short period of time. So, and keeping those other things in mind, but I also do support the shovel-ready things and the things where there are people really willing to plug in and help bring some of these other community services that are important to people here. And so, yeah, thank you for all the work, and it's hard work you have to do on that.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody online who wishes to address the town board? Okay, back to the main room. Is there anybody who hasn't had an opportunity to speak who would like to address the board? Been asked 2 more times. Is there anybody online who wishes to address the town board? It's kind of your last shot. At least, I mean, you can always reach out to us. We can always happy to hear what you have to say, but on this particular public hearing, we're gonna close it down soon, it looks like. Okay, is there anybody in person who wishes to address the town board? Oh, I'm sorry, Nancy, but did you want to say something?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't find my raise your hand thing.
No problem.
Nancy,
Please go
I'm a village resident, and I just wanted to echo support of the conservatory, Camp Barton, the concert series. I just had a question. I don't know how it could happen, but just looking at the community center idea that's been talked about a bit, supporting that. And I also didn't know if these funds could be in some way supporting our food bank. Not sure how, all the rules about it, but just wanted to raise those ideas.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Is there anybody in person who wishes to address the town board who hasn't had an opportunity? Is there anybody online who wishes to address us? Okay, I'm assuming now one last call for anybody online or in person who wishes to address us who hasn't had an opportunity. Okay. And hearing none, I would accept a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Very much. Okay. Just one sec. Okay, moving on with the rest of our agenda. Pull everything up. Okay. So, moving on to old business, ARPA update is not much of an ARPA update because we just had a public hearing. But the next phase of this will be in addition to collecting, there are plenty of public comments for people who weren't here. And so that entire the record from this meeting, the minutes and notes from this meeting, in terms of the public hearing, the next stop is to send that package to the finance committee for initial review. Then this would be all the projects that we've heard about tonight, as well as those that have been collected already, as well as any that were collected in emails that will also become part of our official record for this public hearing. I just wanted to touch for the sake of the public, I wanted to make sure there were a couple of things that were clear. One is that the village of Trumansburg also received an allocation of funds. So if you haven't spent time with them on their funds, I would encourage you to do that. I'm sure the mayor is going to be happy to hear that one.
Well, I want to mention that I called the town or the village office today, and they could not tell me where their ARPA funds went. They couldn't find the information.
Okay. So I don't serve on the village board, so I am silent on that. Thank you, Mary. But I say that not as a joke, but it's because I wanted the public to have a clear understanding of how the town's allocation of the money came to be. So money was essentially every resident in every municipality in the United States, money was allocated to every municipality based on population. Okay, so, and it was based on census, so I'm sure people moved in and out, but based on what the population, the known population of the communities were, and the village received an allocation for their population, and the town received, even though village residents are town residents, the money that the town has received was received for residents based on the population of town outside the village. Does that make a huge difference necessarily for any practical purpose? Not necessarily, but I just wanted people to understand how that money came about. So Hector received money, Covert received money, the counties received money. And the purpose, the broad scale purpose has changed over from when the federal money was first allocated. There were a lot of strings attached, and then I think the federal government realized, and it was very limited to how it could be used when they were first talking about it. And then over time, they made it so that any community that received $10 million or less could basically classify themselves for a standard allowance or a standard allotment. And that means that you don't have to demonstrate. You don't have to go through some calculation of percentages and things like that. So basically, if it's allowed, if it's it was allowed for general government services, recognizing that just like households, governments who are funded by households, right? That there were limitations and strains. One of the biggest strains that the town is facing, which I bet your household might be facing too, is the significant increase in inflation. That puts significant strain on undertaking projects. A project, that was $10,000 in 2020 before the COVID shutdown could easily be considerably more than that for any number of reasons. So the money was in some ways a recognition that COVID put strains on taxpayers, right? Because that's how we're largely funded is through taxation. And that service provisions can become more expensive as a result of these types of crises, and they certainly have. So it's kind of a little bit of background. I also wanted to make sure that the community, and I'll make sure this gets posted on the website. It was part of our budget packet for the 2024 budget. And it was discussed. It's been discussed in multiple meetings, including our budget meetings. I wish, guys, we have really fun budget meetings in the fall, where we manage about a $4 million budget, just shy of $4 million, right? That's a tremendous amount of money, and we would love your feedback on those funds also. But we do, and you may not, TCFA is certainly aware of this, and so are other organizations in the community. But we actually do, we do allocate funds to nonprofits that provide particular services in order to offset the cost of those services. And in our 2024 budget, we allocated funds to the American Legion for the putting up of flags on Memorial Day. And I'm not going to go through each and every one, but I just want you to be aware that that contributing to organizations who are providing direct services, we do help offset those services as our funding allows. The Community Science Institute, Meals on Wheels, Gadabout, Lifelong, Winterfest, Trumansburg After School, TCFA, Trumansburg Farmers Market, Trumansburg Senior Citizens, Ulysses Historical Society, the Library, Jacksonville Park, Food Studies Institute, Trumansburg Food Pantry, Trumansburg Community Nursery School, Trumansburg Fish and Game. And so those are all organizations who did receive funding between the range of about 6698. Well, I'm sorry, the high end was the library received 12,500. And the smallest amount was 475 to the American Legion for the Memorial Day flags. So I just wanted to kind of put some of that out in context too. Next step moving forward on the ARPA funding is that it will go to the Finance Committee. We did post a draft of our ratings metrics and projects, both ones that have already been posted online and then one submitted today and in the packet. Through the community, we'll start going through a review process. This is how we decide projects of all different kinds and of all different amounts. So when we were selecting, this is a similar process to when we were selecting an IT consultant to redo all the technology and technological infrastructure at Town Hall. We go through a rating matrix with objectifiable ways to compare projects. And so we do that when we hire engineers and when we hire planners, and it's a very common way for public institutions to make decisions because decisions are hard, right? And there were so many wonderful projects mentioned tonight. And I think all are very worthy and important institutions in our community and activities in our community. And there are also a lot of infrastructure needs that the taxpayers will likely have to pay for one way or the other in the next couple of years, and how they pay for that and what pot of money it comes out of will have to be considered too. So the plan is to generally have a breakdown of the funds in place. We're looking at approximately of unallocated funds of just over $296,000. Is that right? No, 196,000. No, sorry.
You do that magic again.
Yes, that would be awesome, wouldn't it? I could do with an extra $100,000. Can we all, right? So that money, the plan is to essentially, hopefully by our first regular meeting in March, to be able to come back with some firm decisions for consideration, and possibly earlier than that, but we want to make sure that we're moving forward rather expeditiously. The other thing I wanted to clarify too is Mr. Tyler raised the concern about permissive referendum. Under New York state law, the town board could not legally ask the public's opinion on any number of things we do. We are only allowed to have, there are only permissive referendums triggered, which can become actual referendums. If it's identified under New York State law, a New York State town law. And so the acquisition of property for purchase, like if the town goes out and wants to purchase something of a certain price point or such as land, that is subject to permissive referendum, and that could trigger a special election. So any purchase of land would do that. Vast majority of things the town board does and allocating of funds does not trigger a permissive referendum. So that I didn't want the public to emerge from this thinking that if we put forward a project X and someone files a permissive, files a petition, then that would have to go to a vote or just be tabled or removed. That's not how the vast majority of projects work. And that's because we live in a representative democracy instead of a direct democracy. But there's the recognition that for certain, high cost expenditures that the public should have the right to raise objections if they so choose. So that's kind of that balancing act. It's like a safety valve for bigger purchases in most cases. So I hope that answers some of it. We'll certainly be back with more information, and I just wanted to extend a hearty thank you to everybody who took the time to be here and who's taken the time to submit comments. And every time people participate in government gets better, because the government is us, right? It's the people who participate and the people we serve. So does the board have any questions at this juncture about
The decision process?
Who's the
rating?
So the recommendation, my recommendation would be, it would be the full town board, as well as our other two chief elected, the clerk and the highway superintendent. And I also think our budget officer should be involved. But I'm going to leave the fine tuning of this is going to be left to the finance committee, of which I do not serve on the finance committee. The finance committee, with other input from town board members, did come up with the list of the ratings matrix. So it really comes down to the review process.
Okay.
So, and I believe there's a finance committee coming soon. Is it Thursday?
I didn't see it in my calendar, I don't think. Might be next week.
Oh, yeah.
Thursday.
Um,
I think
Next
I think it's,
I think it is this Thursday.
maybe it is.
Mhm.
Did you get,
I didn't get a reminder yet.
I didn't get a reminder either.
Michelle is?
Michelle, are you still online?
Hello.
Hi,
Who's the next finance committee?
is Thursday the next finance committee, or is it next Thursday?
That's what we have been talking about, is this Thursday, 8 a.m. But if that doesn't work, we can find a different time.
That works.
Yeah.
8 a.m.
Looks like you're gonna have a party, a morning party. Not really a party.
See you then.
Okay.
So I mean, when we're doing this ratings, and obviously you guys are gonna be taking the first crack at it.
Thanks. I don't know.
There were a lot of great ideas that were thrown out there tonight. Some are specific projects, some are ideas. So like we have the TCFA project, which is, been given like a number value and a project with an outcome. And then there were
And a
lot
real
of-
plan.
Right, and then there were a lot of ideas that I like all of them. But
Like,
how are we gonna, right, Camp Barton, we don't have a specific, because
no
the
way.
LBC,
You can't
We don't-
spend money on an idea. You
right,
gotta have
so.
something real.
Gonna do this.
Well, I mean, I think part of it gets to is there's short-term money and there's long-term money. I think Roxanne, I think, made a very good point about that. So this money feels very special, but in reality, it's not that special in comparison to our unappropriated fund balance. This is all town of Ulysses taxpayer money. It's just,
Yeah.
this has a timeline on it, and other money doesn't have a short-term timeline on it in the same way. This isn't supposed to be for ongoing projects. Which, but it's true that, I mean, you think about it, unappropriated fund balance really in a lot of cases should be, you should be doing that really should also only supposed to be used for one-time projects in a lot of cases, right? Because
if it's a maintenance thing, that'd be in a different.
yeah, I mean, there's certainly a lot of philosophy in thinking about how we can do it, but I think the reality is this money needs to be used. And it feels like December 31st is a long way away unless you're sitting in local government or have ever interacted with the local government. It's not a long way away. It's really close.
We have to allocate the project by December.
Well, and it's not just saying, hey, we're gonna spend it on this. If we're buying, I like to use the flashlight analogy. If we're buying flashlights, we need to know the model flashlight, the number of flashlights, the provider of the flashlights, all the qualifications of the flashlights, and have a contract with the flashlight seller. Like that, and you start backtracking all the things that have to happen for that to happen. And it's a process. And that's, you know, local government is meant to be slowed down so you make thoughtful legal choices as opposed to just like, you know, not doing nothing.
Fire sale.
So we have to
Exactly.
allocate it by the end of this year and spend it by the end of 26.
Yes.
Right.
But I'm here, and that's that, and it's a very doable process. I would hope that we are spending well before 26, and I think that we need to be planning that needs to be spent either in 24 or 25, because prices are gonna go up. So if you're gonna buy it, you do a project and say it's gonna be X project, it might not cost that, which will have unintended costs associated with delay. So. But we have a draft rating metrics based on what has already been posted. We'll just start going through the process. I mean, that's what we're called upon to do. It doesn't mean that if one project isn't funded out of ARPA, it doesn't mean the project can't ever happen. It just means it's coming out potentially from a different pot of money.
Yeah.
So, because there are some projects that have to happen. We have some infrastructure needs, and if it's not paid for, if it's ARPA, that's fine, but it's gonna be in the 2025 budget coming out of something else.
We're just going to have to take this.
Parking lot?
I mean, it's obviously needed.
Mhm.
But does it really benefit the whole community? It benefits us to drive in and out of the parking lot.
Well, anybody else who uses the parking lot.
Right, but is it real, doesn't seem
Well, it's gonna have to be replaced, and who's gonna pay for it? So
appropriated fund balance.
that's still the taxpayers' money.
Well, it's
And-
true, but this is different. I mean, philosophically, this is to me a different kind of money.
And that's fine. I mean, and so critical infrastructure that has to be done. I mean, part of it is, I'm really grateful to hear TCFA is addressing ADA accessibility. I'm appalled that our building's not ADA accessible, and that's part of it. We're doing an ADA accessible door. And so then if you're and so, I've taken some flack, and I'm good humored about it, but I've taken some flack on a parking lot. People are like, oh, that park, you're bluffing on the parking lot. I'm not bluffing about the parking lot. If we're gonna have an ADA accessible door, that parking lot needs to be accessible to everybody. And breaking a belt in your tire because we have potholes that have been unremediated is not acceptable. Now, is it an exciting project? Not necessarily, but I'm not necessarily pushing for it being paid out of ARPA money. If it's not paid out of ARPA money, it's got to be paid for out of other tax money.
Well,
It's all our money.
It could be made exciting if we had permeable.
Well, I agree with that.
And trees.
That's right.
Yeah, and it would affect the stormwater runoff,
Well, Mary, I'm really enthusiastic about infrastructure though, but I recognize that it's not everybody's.
Definitely need an
So, I mean, I do think it certainly impacts the public, but I mean, again, I think that's why this all goes into a ratings metric that is, and then the public can, follow along as we go through the process, because it's their collected money. So.
And I like the matrices, like when we've used them before for consultants and something. Really takes you to look back and look at each project or idea individually and then see how they kind of compare. So get your.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Okay. Well, there was no action on that other than to keep moving forward. Moving on, we have the acknowledgement of the town board's audit of the justice courts. I want to extend another thank you to Michael and Liz for spending time with the courts. I hope you continue to learn more and about important work that's happening here. Did you have any highlights?
We just should have a shout out to Angie for keeping her books together. This is my 9th year and she's come a long way to clean those up. So she's really got her house in order. And then along with that, judges Schlee and Dresser, you know, they make her job easier by keeping their dockets together and their funds that they're keeping. So I'm really impressed with how they keep the books together, and you know, we've survived audits and they haven't been, you know, they haven't come up. So
Absolutely. We're very fortunate.
Very lucky to have them.
Yeah.
And I attended court this morning, and I just have to say that was a nice experience, and see how well it happened to be Judge Dresser this morning and Angie, but court was run very well, even with some little snags
They're
here
very
and
professional.
there, and it was very professional.
Yeah.
While I never want to go in front of the judge, I will go in front of Judge Dresser. He seems very fair and to the point and honest.
He does his homework for sure.
And he does his homework, and he's very well prepared. So it was a good experience this morning.
That's wonderful.
So thank them for letting me sit in on it.
Excellent. Well, we are fortunate because not every town court in the state of New York will brag about the same thing. So we are very fortunate, and I appreciate both of you for conducting that audit. So we have a resolution to this. Just for the public, the town board is required to annually audit the justice courts, and they go through, and we have they go through a checklist process of reviewing and checking different things, and the books essentially are open, so to speak, from the court process and how everything is managed. And so that's what we're doing here. So we're accepting your audit, and then Carissa will submit a certified copy of the resolution with the results of the audit to the New York State Office of Court Administration. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and then the next item up is our annual contract. I did print one copy. It was posted in the meeting packet. I only printed one copy for signature. But if anyone on the board wants to review it in person again, you're welcome to see my copy. This is the agreement between the town and Tompkins County Soil and Water. They provide professional services to review basic stormwater pollution prevention plans and monitor the implementation of erosion and sediment control measures. And these are services that professional services that they provide to us. This is an annual agreement we signed. Did anybody have any questions or thoughts on it? Okay. Then I will accept a motion to approve me to sign the contract and have the clerk, Carissa, submit it.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And then the next item up, this is the one, this came out yesterday. And although it's been many months in the making to get here, it feels very long, but it's not actually long in substance. It's just it has to refer to every piece. This is a memorandum of agreement with the Teamsters Local 317, which is the town's. We were a highway department until the end of last year, and we became a Department of Public Works, and we have a union contract in place with the Teamsters from January 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024. What this memorandum of agreement does is goes through that contract and changes every time it says Highway Department, it changes it to Department of Public Works. It has no substantive changes other than that, but it's important that someone then who is now hired in the DPW is eligible to then be a member of the union. Otherwise, they would not be. So Does the board have any questions on that? Okay, so I would accept a motion to authorize me to sign the memorandum of agreement recognizing the name change.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great. And then up next is former highway, current, but now outgoing member of the DPW, a resolution of service for Stephen Manchaki. And he's been an appreciated and valued member of the town's highways department, now DPW, since 2005. And where he served as a union steward for several years and worked with the town board to develop multiple contracts to serve the members of the union and the town. And whereas the highway department, now the Department of Public Works, will miss his sense of humor and work ethic. Now therefore be it resolved that the Ulysses Town Board extends its appreciation to Mr. Manchaki for his many years of service to the town of Ulysses and wishes him well in his retirement. And we will get a copy of that provided to him. Is there a motion? I'll move that. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm abstaining.
Okay. And that brings me on to my two add-on items. The first one is appointment to an alternate position on the BZA. Is there, I think Karen, yes, Karen's on. Karen Meter was interviewed for a position on the for an open seat of alternate on the Board of Zoning Appeals, and her appointment is endorsed by the current chair of the BZA, as well as I understand liaison.
Yeah.
So we're always grateful for another volunteer in the community. Is there any questions? No. Okay, so then I'm writing this, the very standard resolution on the fly. I just got a official word that everybody had signed off on it. I only heard that today, so I apologize for not having that ready in advance. Resolved that the Ulysses Town Board appoints Karen Meter to the Board of Zoning Appeals as an alternate through December 31st, 2024.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Thank you.
One thing on the planning board, they're seeking two alternates. We already have one.
It's a typo. Yep, we'll make sure that gets corrected. We now have one alternate open on each one. Yep. Yep. Okay, and then I received an email late this afternoon. I'm gonna pull it up quickly while I'm saying this, from Stephen DeWitt, who's a commissioner from the Board of Elections, Tompkins County Board of Elections. And he has a fairly time-sensitive question. And so let me read you his message. I will forward you a copy of it, but the message said, the Tompkins County Board of Elections would like to reduce the number of polling places in the town of Ulysses to 2 by having voters that currently vote at the West Hill Community Church vote at the Racker Center. Please share the attached documents with the other members of the town board. We will welcome your comments. So I am going to forward that information to you. If you have any, well, first off, if you have anything you want to say about it tonight, we're certainly happy to collect those. They're going to be making their decision. I did a follow-up email with Mr. DeWitt because I was trying to get a sense of how time sensitive it was. And they're going to be determining their polling places on February 15th. And our next meeting is not till February 13th. So it felt that would be a long time to see if there's any feedback now. And if there's anything that anybody wanted to share with that.
Is it that they can't get poll workers or?
That is the only information I've received. I mean, it's,
That might be why.
It also saves some money.
it saves money,
Yeah, they don't have to have as many.
right?
Yeah.
So it would be Rackers and Fire Hall?
Yes,
Instead
instead of 3.
So leave a void in that side of the town?
Yeah.
I'd have to look.
I mean, it's really, I mean, it's,
What's that? No.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
Dolores
you're a
knows.
poll worker.
Well, it seems to me that if they're thinking of finding ways to save money, it seems to me that they would only be saving maybe paying 2 people,
Saving on the polling machines though.
because
That's what big.
they'll go to the print on demand, which is, it's a tower printer, and you just stand there and you pull out. Somebody stands there and pulls out the ballot and hands it to somebody. And because then you've got 2 districts, the Racker Center, and then the other one is combined, so it's 2 districts. So.
Yeah, the fire hall and the Rackers.
So instead of having 4 people up at West Hill, and then 4 over at Racker, you'll probably end up having maybe 5 or 6 over at Racker. So they're not, I mean,
Not a lot of money, but it's.
it's not by a lot, but it just makes it, maybe for some people, they might feel like it's inconvenient to go from West Hill to Racker.
well, I don't have any,
That would be my.
Do we know how many people use?
I don't, that information wasn't provided. I didn't receive it with enough time to really delve into it. I just wanted to introduce it to the board. We can certainly submit questions back. If you have questions, please don't hesitate to let me know. I do know from a different conversation that they are changing equipment. So that's probably the driving one, because we had to beg them to let us use their apparently now old equipment in order for our special election, even though it was, a month later. And so they are moving to new equipment. So I'd imagine they're determining how many.
Yeah, they call it the print on demand.
Yeah,
Well, so they won't have to print up big packages.
that's right.
Yeah,
Ballots
supposed
to just get thrown away.
money, because you just print what you need instead of printing for a total number of people within the town.
Right.
You don't normally get that many anyway.
Yeah.
But you still have to print them just in case. It doesn't work on the day of the election. It's always that.
I am grateful people serve. Thank you very much for serving. I'm also glad I'm not part of the Board of Elections because, well, and elections are changing too. They're changing timelines of trying to encourage or pushing certain elections
Well, actually, that would affect, will it affect, no, it won't affect you, but.
it's gonna affect everybody. It'll affect everybody at some point to get on the schedules, the next one. Anyone after this year is going to be, so elected officials in the town, it does not impact the village, it does not impact judges. It'll affect town and city and county, I believe. Maybe not. Not sure about city now that I say that, but I think city. But it will be staggered, terms will get staggered, get reduced by a year. There are a lot of town supervisors who are super excited to run for 1-year terms. I can tell you that's.
Even year, right?
Yes, we're gonna be going on, we're going to go on to presidential years. Yep,
President, yeah, so, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
still every 2, so that it ends up.
yes,
Everybody's
yep,
on the same cycle,
right. So future terms,
the village.
except the villages, who will continue along in their.
March, nobody shows up. I forgot about it.
Okay. I will forward this along. Please review it. Let me know. And we can, and if it makes sense, I can also push it out for if there's community feedback, if we want to collect community feedback at the next town board meeting. There was just not enough time today to adequately update the public on that, but I can certainly I can certainly make sure, because I know there are, Ulysses has very good voter turnout in comparison to a lot of districts, or a lot of parts of the state. So I want to make sure people are still accessing their rights to vote. Okay. We have just, the next up is upcoming events. We have our regular town board meeting on the 13th. Town hall will be closed on February 19th. And then there's a regular town board on the 27th. I did want to double check with everybody. You are scheduled or are not? You're scheduled to be out of town. You're out of town for the 27th. Michael, are you out of town that week, or are you, you're here?
Yeah, it's the 9,
It's a previous week, right?
yeah, 18 to 21st.
Does anybody else have any scheduling challenges with the 27th?
No.
Okay. At this point, I can't foresee the weather yet. I mean, let's, okay, so we will miss you.
But I could probably do Zoom.
Okay. Sounds good. It's been a while. We haven't had a February meeting in a long time, but it's a scheduling, it falls differently this year. A second February meeting. And we had, that moves on to minutes. We had, let me get my minutes in front of me. Minutes got posted. Let me double check the dates. I believe we had the January 4th organizational meeting and the regular meeting with public hearing on January 8th. Did anybody have any alterations that they needed made? Okay, so I'll accept a motion to approve the minutes as presented for those two dates.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. There are no board notifications or modifications. I keep those on as holding patterns because you never know. We will be, the plan is at our next meeting in February is to do the final budget modifications for 2023 and close out the books. So that'll be the plan for next meeting, as well as Inatiganic is scheduled.
I was gonna ask you about
Yeah,
that.
I could feel it. Next meeting, first meeting in
February?
the 13th. Yep. Last year, I think we were here on Valentine's Day together. So this year we are missing that opportunity. Does the board have anything else they needed to touch on before we move to privilege of the floor? Okay, we are back full circle to privilege of the floor. Is there anybody in person who would like to address us? Yes, please.
I remember, has the board, thought about, making I guess a resolution to, vote against giving the garbage.
We did that.
Yeah, we did
Oh,
that.
you did that?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and so you voted against?
We
Redoing
sent, it was in November, I think, we specified our opposition. We did a good job, right? We were ahead of the village.
Yeah.
Throwing it out there. I take no credit for it, though, it was brought to us, but we appreciate our.
Okay, thank you.
Is there anybody else? Somebody online? Is there anybody online who wishes to address us? Okay, is there anybody in person who wishes to address us?
I do.
Yep, please go ahead.
Again, I'm Vivian Rose, and again, it's the beginning of the year, and I just want to say that the last year I've been taking a few bird club classes and native plant, Finger Lakes Native Plant Society classes. And between the two of them, I've become aware that 40 to 60% declines in pollinator and bird populations have come about since the 1940s, in large part because of habitat loss, pesticide use, and loss of native cultivars to non-native species. So in my yard, for instance, almost everything in my yard does not support bird populations or pollinators.
And in fact, it's not just that it's here, it's happening all along the route of the birds. In South America or the Caribbean where they overwinter, and in the northern breeding grounds. So when our habitat isn't healthy for the birds, it doesn't just impact this bird population that lives right here. It's everybody up and down the flyway. And I want to bring this to your attention because I think that this is one of the indicators of ecosystem health. And when we do things like put lights that impact the ability of the moths to reproduce, or put things in our roads that impact the ability of the birds to fly, or etc., things that we don't think about that we think we need, we impact the ecosystem health of our future, basically. So I would like to ask you to think carefully about increasing funding to the BEEP committee and to the DPW to be able to provide native open pollinated seeds and cultivars to business owners and homeowners who will plant them on their property. And also, if there's any law that you can change so that we can not be in the New York Municipal Code that if you leave your yard so it gets more than 8 inches, you're citable because it's pest. That would be good to address too. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody online who wishes to address us? Is there anybody else in person who wishes to address us? Please go ahead.
So just back to the parking lot, and if you do end up deciding to do that as one of the infrastructure projects that can be done short term because you can't do enough other things, so that's a high priority one. The Conservation Sustainability Advisory Committee had a little discussion about that, and these things is really in support of that, and I'm helping with that. Andy Hilton gave a presentation, so I don't think it needs the $95,000 that's folded in there at all. So we'd be happy to be involved and help with that. And again, just circling back to what I said, I'm not necessarily, I hear exactly what Rich is saying with regard to that. Doesn't seem like it's something for the whole town and it's the parking lot. But again, the point I was trying to articulate that people would also follow up on it, that the board made a decision to get that to raise the money that you would do a parking lot with in the next year's budget, or take it out of other funds that we might have here unallocated funds, and say, I'm going to put those towards developing some of these projects that we don't have the ability to implement on this very short by government standards timeline. So I would advocate for that. So it's kind of a win-win in a way. We get those things done and move forward with the other things people are expressing. And I just have one other thing, which is an infrastructure related thing, small, but I know that there are sometimes some problems with the charger here, the electric vehicle charger. I don't know about this, but anyway, that's a fairly old piece of infrastructure. And so the county is doing they're looking to do potentially do an RFP, an aggregate one and so they're asking all towns in the county who might be interested in having a charging station somewhere, if they're interested in being part of this. And so there's absolutely no commitment to it. They'll put in, they're gonna get a bid to get somebody to bid on a whole lot of instead of one. And so I think that, it would be worth us saying, yeah, well, we'd like to be part of this RFP going forward. No commitment financially to us, but potentially we'd be able to replace that charger with newer equipment that could potentially work better, charge 2 cars faster, save people money. So if the board is amenable to that, we could just, I was speaking with Terry Carroll, who's the county sustainability officer, and was on our CSEC committee today. And he said if the town wanted to do it, we could just tell them, I could write them an email
Caleb can write an email, whoever, say that we want to be included in this RFP. Doesn't cost us anything, doesn't commit us, but I think it's a good idea.
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who wishes to address the board? Okay, well,
Move to adjourn.
thank you very much, everybody.
This.
Yeah.